Welcome to another Blog Talk Radio show, guys. I have, without further ado, because this is going to be a long introduction if I start talking like I always do, it's going to be Bill Posley. He's calling from New York, so I have to be quick. It has to be in a New York minute, so it has to be quick, guys. And he's already on the line. He's loving the song, but I'm going to play it at the end because, but you know, that song is not the original song. Is by Portishead.
Portishead, yeah. I love Portishead. Okay. That's the
Portishead is more amazing than this band, but you know what? It's fine. I like the remix, but anyway, that's my take on that.
Only you. Yeah, I love it. It's great.
No, that's not how it goes. So, how you been, Bill? How's it going?
Good, man. You guys, I'm in a truck right now, so I'm driving a truck. So I built this immersive experience in the back of a moving truck, where people get to get in the truck and they think they're stepping in to look at a mirror, and instead of a mirror on the other side, they see me. And so you get to have a 1-minute immersive experience with me. However, what I didn't account for was having to drive a moving truck and park it every day in Manhattan. And so because I did not think about that, I am now every month, so street cleaning, so now every morning and every night I have to find parking for this friggin' truck. Every day. Literally every day.
In New York.
So,
in New York.
Yeah, in New York. I'm literally in, and I mean, I've been pulled over. I've been, I've gotten 2 tickets.
You've been stereotyped.
Dude, it's crazy. It is crazy.
It's already funny. Sorry.
So we
have
to
laugh
do some of this.
It sounds.
It is. I bit off a little more than I could chew with this thing. So.
Wow.
So you guys are. We're gonna find parking, man, while we do this interview, because it's 10 o'clock and it's street cleaning. God damn it! I just missed the spot.
Oh shit.
yeah, that's what happens, man. All right, so now you can see how I feel. So yeah, man, what do you want to talk about? Let's do this.
Well, let's talk about the day I became black.
All right. Yeah, man.
Because that's what you're doing in New York, right?
Yes, I am.
Just for those people, the listeners that they don't know what's going on, I'm going to explain this. It's going to be Bill Posley, who I met at the Hollywood Fringe Festival here in L.A. Last year. He had this one-man show called The Day I Became Black. And so I went to see it, and I thought it was the best solo show at the Fringe Festival, in my opinion. But I only saw 30 shows last year out of 400
only.
shows.
Yeah, only
30.
Wow.
Which is a lot, but it's not really a lot when you think about the bigger picture. However, out of the 30, I thought yours was the best solo performance after you is Jonathan, because he's going to kill me if he hears this.
Oh, no. Jonathan was my favorite solo performance. So, Jonathan, if you hear this, you were my favorite solo performance.
Yeah, right. You're a close second. Anyhow, so the story goes that Bill Posley grew up biracial in white America. That's what I understand. Where do you grow up? I forget where you're from.
So I'm from Massachusetts, which is the first place most people think of when they think of black people, right? So I'm not only biracial. I'm in a place where there aren't that many black people, and on top of that, I grew up in a outside, about an hour outside of the city of Boston, which, you know, has a reputation for being the most racist city in America. So I'm having a racial identity crisis around a lot of very crazy and confusing things, because I want to, as a biracial person, I want to identify as, you know, both black and white. And what ends up happening is, because I look black, I have to learn that eventually I have to identify as black, because that's the way the world's going to perceive me. So that's basically the journey of that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's intense.
It is.
Yeah.
But funny. But I try to make it funny.
No, yes. Well, you're first and foremost a comedian. So when I went to see it, obviously I was expecting to have, you know, a good time, and I did. But towards the end, I was like, what just happened? You pulled the rug right under the audience and every show, and I think nobody's expecting to see what you showed us on TV or what you showed us on the screen. And so I think the laughter pieces the audience into what's coming up at the end. And I don't want to spoil it, because I know that you still have another, I don't know how many more weeks you have in New York, but I think through April 15th, right? It says here April 15th, or has it been extended even more?
Yes, I've been extended to May 6th, so I'm here from April. I still have from April 15th to May 6th, and I'll be doing the show Thursday through Monday for, you know, most of those days. And yeah, it's been, guess what? Oh, man.
You missed the parking again?
Dude, we might have just got some parking, dude. Hold on. I just got to ask you a question. Hold on.
Go ahead. Cool.
Is this a paid spot, or is this free? Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right, dude. Yeah. Okay, thank you, man.
I'm really laughing.
Oh, man, dude, you see, this is like, listen, finding the joy of finding all-day parking in New York is more than the joy of putting on the best show of my life. That's where I'm at with this, man. That's where I'm at with this, just because I wanted to have an immersive experience, dude. Yeah, dude. Oh, man, let's see. We're a little bit into the crosswalk, but we're kind of okay. Let me see if I got a... Anyway. Dude,
make sure you
I
don't...
thought parking in LA was crazy. Nothing.
Don't upset the New Yorkers.
So, yeah.
New Yorkers, yeah.
So, thank you for talking about that. One of the things that I try to do with my work is give people multiple experiences, right? Like, I think that comedy and drama live within each other. There's the best comedy spawns itself from drama, and the best drama spawns itself from comedy in a way that I mean, the two are always in tandem and juxtaposing one another, and that's what I try my best to do is to use comedy to walk people through dramatic things, right? And there's a way to do my story that is, tragic or sad or
relatable.
A little bit more of, and the comedy allows it to be relatable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you showed us that porno, and you showed us the. I mean, if you don't laugh at that, it's just something wrong with you, or you probably haven't seen porn in your life. Or a big old black dick.
A big old black dick. And the reason why I think I do that is not everybody, look, not everybody is going to know what it's like to be biracial, let alone what it's like to be black and white, right? And so I try to use things like the porn conversation or the comedy within the piece to boil it down to a more broad perspective on the subject of identity, because that is something we all can relate to, is what it feels like to be forced to identify based on appearance. Because in this country, we do a really, really, really shitty thing, which is we judge people immediately upon how they look, right? And so I do not have the patent on an identity struggle. We all have it. I want people to know that this is just mine, and I think finding the comedy in that situation allows for people to also say, oh, well, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be black, but I do know what it's like to be judged. I do know what it's like to feel like I have to identify. I know what it's like to think about what I am before I go into a situation. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, like when I get stereotyped, like when I don't speak or I don't open my mouth to speak, people will assume that I'm white.
Right.
Because I look white. But in my opinion, I am actually Latino. I'm Peruvian descent and Fian. But anyways, I don't identify myself as a white person. And I don't think of myself as a white person, even if I look at the mirror and I see my reflection, I don't see a white person. Not because I don't look white, it's just that I don't identify with a race to begin with. I'm not Latino, I'm not a Peruvian, I'm not a Italian descent, I'm not German, and I'm not any of that, because at the end of the day, it's what's inside my head that counts and what's inside my soul that comes through. But when I speak, and I immediately have an accent, so people will assume, oh, he's an illegal, or he must be from Mexico. Oh, how do you cross the border? Stuff like that happens to me. So I understand you have to identify yourself, and I actually am an American. So just to clear this out, I was born in the States. So that confuses people. They're like, but where are you from?
Exactly.
And I'm like, I am from here. They don't believe me. It's just frustrating.
Exactly.
But, I let them confused sometimes on purpose.
Yeah, and the fact that we feel like, God, we just need to know, don't we? Like, as human beings, we just need to know. We need to know what people are, where they come from. And a lot of times, I do believe it's in interest or it genuinely, intrigued. But also, a lot of times, it's so we're comfortable with who they are and we know where they fit in a box. It's a lot of times it's that we need to know, oh, okay, now I know where to place you, right? And like we need people to be placed in order for us to be comfortable with them, and that's the problem.
Yeah, not only that, but also male and female, gay or straight. Then you have the other subcategories that follow that.
Religious,
married,
you know what
married,
I mean? Like
single.
I mean, like Indian, Muslim, whatever that is, it gives us the ability to go, oh, okay, I know how to categorize that person. I know how to place them in a role that makes sense to me, right? And if that makes sense to me, then it's okay. I think people should know where people come from. Right, make them comfortable. I think that when you are genuinely interested in another person's background, that's one thing. That's the human experience. But when you're interested in that person's background so that way you are comfortable with who they are, then that is what I think makes the identity struggle super difficult. Because if you were to come up, you were a great example, right? So like when somebody's like, "Oh man, where are you from?" and you explain it, and they're like, "Oh, that's an interesting story," right? There are a lot of people who may ask you where you're from because they want to know if you're illegal. Or before, once you were white, once they perceived you as white, that was a different experience for them. But when they hear you speak and there's that accent there, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, this isn't a white person. Wait, who are you? Why do you have that accent? Where are you from?" Like that kind of intrigue is where you start to wonder, are they really interested in me? Or and the fact that you have to even think about it, right? The fact that you even have to think about it. Like, oh, are they now going to treat me different because I'm not white to them anymore? Are they now going to treat me different because I have this accent?
Do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they do. One time there's somebody told me I'm a wetback, and I'm like, really? And your last name is Lopez? You're calling me a wetback? Right. Okay. Okay, whatever. Like, this is not about legal or illegal. It's about race. And that actually, I want to pose the question. Do you consider yourself an African American?
So that term in general for me is not a way I love to be classified. I prefer the term black, right? Because when African American, I think, should be reserved for people who are from Africa and identify as American. I am an American, first and foremost. Same as, exactly the same way you said it. I am an American, and any kind of subcategory of that, I think, makes me feel less than that. I am an American who happens to be biracial. That's basically how I identify. And I think that there are black people who maybe would prefer to just be Americans who happen to be black. But I think I'm solely an American first. And then after that, I would say I'm a biracial American.
Mm-hmm.
I identify today as
why
biracial.
Why not say I'm white? Why not say you're white?
Because then I'd be denying half of who I am.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be saying that my dad doesn't exist. And it would be the same the other way around, right? Like, if I said I was black, that would be saying that my mom is not a part of my story, and she very much is, and my white family isn't a part of my story, because they very much are. They equally shaped who I am as much as the black side of my family did. And so, it took doing this show. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It took me doing this show because growing up as a kid, I wanted to identify as both. And then, my dad told me that I had to identify as black. Oh, the world told me I had to identify as black because that's what I look like. And it was very confusing because half of my story has to do with me being white as well. And so it took me a long time to feel comfortable in saying that I'm biracial. That's it. I'm biracial. And I'm okay. I'm okay if that makes people uncomfortable, and I'm okay if people say that I'm denying that I'm black, and I'm okay with people saying that you're not white, and I'm okay with it because I don't care. I'm biracial for me. I'm not biracial for them, and I won't be black for them, and I won't be white for them. I will be biracial. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my brother. I love both sides of my family, and most importantly, I love myself. You know what I mean?
Right. Which probably wasn't easy growing up. You probably didn't love yourself. when you were called the N word or whatever other terms.
Right. And that's the other
Right.
thing too, is because you hit the nail on the head there, right? Which is like, I wasn't just racially profiled by white people. I was also racially profiled by black people too. And black people were racist toward me. They called me a half-breed or African or, you know, hybrid,
Half-breed.
zebra kid. Yeah, like
Wow.
it wasn't like white people were just sitting there making fun of me. Black people were too. So, like, I didn't feel black. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't.
Right.
I felt like something completely different. And so my experience wasn't necessarily one of a black person's experience. It was 100% one of a biracial person's experience, because black people didn't accept me either. When I was growing up.
Sometimes, actually, I noticed sometimes that, I would say African American, although they're black or brown. The African Americans tend to be more, I think, outspoken about that, being more racist or more loud, or I guess whatever the term. But I think it's more noticeable from the African American community, called out and to be, told like things like that. Like they're more outspoken, I would say, I guess, about that. And they always blame the white race for anything, and you being a half breed, as they say, it's, I don't know, it's probably an insult to them, or I don't know. I was just watching Queen Latifah earlier, and she had like this talk show in the 90s, or I think it was the 90s, and so she had like biracial kids with their parents come up on the stage, and it was interesting how before Facebook and before all this nonsense that we have today, how they were still, close-minded, but now we're still close-minded, because we haven't progressed from the 50s or 30s or 1800s. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like we have come a long way in some ways, but in some ways we haven't.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, to go back to what you were saying before, right? You were talking about how black people, I think what you were trying to say is that black people are very outspoken when it comes to racial issues, right?
Right.
And
I noticed.
The reason why that is because it's something that black people, it's their experience, right? It's something that they always have to think about. That's why, and especially in this country. And so, being, James Baldwin said being white means never having to think about it. So a lot of times people are ignorant to the fact that when something happens to a person of color, specifically in this country, it is hard for your first thought to not be, is this happening because of my race? Whatever race that is, because of my color, brown, black, Hispanic, whatever. Your first thought a lot of times is this happening because of my race. Whether that's true or not, or you can deduce later that it wasn't, or you can make peace with yourself that, that wasn't because of my race. It still winds up being your first thought.
Yeah. And
after that, you might be able to process it in a way that makes you realize, that wasn't a racial thing, that wasn't this, that was this. But until it happened, it legitimately happened to me recently. I was just at dinner the other night, and we got the check. I mean, we went to a really nice meal. It was very lovely. It was me and another friend of mine. We got the check, and the server wrote, "Thank you," and then circled the suggested tip section.
Excuse you.
He circled the tip section, right? Now I'm a server. I've been a server in my life.
Okay.
To circle the tip section on a bill where it goes 18% this, 20% this, 22% this. To circle that section means one of two things, right? Hey, a lot of people in this restaurant don't tip, so I'm going to try and remind them to tip. Or two, I don't think these people are going to tip. I'm going to remind them to tip. Now, we're in a really nice restaurant. I assume that everybody tips. It's a nice restaurant. So I'm assuming now in my head, he did this because he thinks I'm black and I'm not going to tip him. Now, maybe some people, if you were white and you saw that, they might be like, oh, this guy's trying, he doesn't realize that everybody else is this, or he wouldn't even think about it. They may even think that's what he does on every person's bill. And maybe that's what he does. Maybe that's what that server does on every person's bill. But as a person of color, I have to think that that's because I'm black. And it may or may not be true, but I'm thinking that, and that's the difference. That's why black people are constantly outspoken about race, is because we have to think about it more.
Yeah.
It's in our experience, you know what I mean?
And the funny thing is that, first of all, I was in Russia, as you know. And in Russia, first of all, they don't tip, right? Which is funny to me. I'm like, you don't tip.
Oh, yeah, no.
That was just a shock to me. But anyways, what I was trying to get to with that is that I was with Seb, which is, he's not African American. He's black, okay, or he's brown. He says he's not black, which I agree. Anyhow, he was in St. Petersburg with me working on this production, and he told me, he's like, it is so strange that in Russia nobody treats me like an African American, and it's such a relief. I feel so relieved not being judged by the color of my skin in Russia, where everybody's white, and I'm the brown sore. Everybody, the eyesore of the whole town is Seb and 5 other black people that were in that area. But he says, even though I was, obviously not from there, and people saw me and they even greeted me for no particular reason. They wanted to see where I'm from. They never asked me if I'm African American.
Right.
And and that period is like, okay, he felt so much more accepted, or much more, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to have them guard up in Europe, where here in America, for some reason, we're still back in the 1800s, and we still have that mentality, and we still have the slave mentality.
We have a history, right? We have a history that other places don't have, and we also have the other places have. What I love about going to other countries is not only am I not African American when I go, it's interesting that, like, when I go to a foreign country like Europe or something like that, I could just be an African tourist or a Caribbean tourist or a black Frenchman. The idea that, like, when I'm on a different foreign soil, there is not a preconceived notion of anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's very cool.
Right. And it's kind of funny because I'm from here, obviously, but I grew up in Peru. So in Peru, if you saw a black person on the street, you never questioned if they were from Peru. I never did, anyways. I never thought of for a second, oh, they must be from a different country, because anyways, there's a history there too, but that had to deal with the Spanish. um, Anyhow, they were not treated differently than any other Peruvians. They were just Peruvian people that happened to be in a different color. So I never had that experience growing up as much, because my family is kind of racist. But yeah, it's another story. But that would be called the day I became German.
Yeah.
But anyhow, coming here was a different thing. I'm like, I've never understood the history of, the whole history that happened here, and how we still see people with the color of the skin as superior or inferior to the other, and I just have there's no logic to it. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, people who are much smarter than myself have done the science on it and the sociology on it and the economics of it, and how it systematically is ingrained into our society, and all of that stuff, and we are in a place that we don't necessarily need to see each other as that way anymore. However, we've never needed to see each other as that, to be honest. But it's such an underlying thing that we don't know what that conversation looks like to start to weed it out. And I mean, I think it's something that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's that progress hasn't happened. It obviously has, and a lot of people have fought and died and given their life for that progress and that change to happen. But we still have a long way to go, and I think that those the nuances of the nuance of it now is where I think it really becomes interesting. Like, the places where we can start to really see, like, what is the systemic conditions and racism that we, in today's society, it may not look like pitchforks and lynchings and things like that, but it manifests itself in the prison system, or where wealth lies in this country, or the fact that if you're a certain race, you get the benefit of the doubt, whereas if you're a certain race, you get condemned, right? Those nuances in our society is where the racism lives and is very problematic and really hurts, And so, like, yeah, that's, and people, like I said, smarter than me have, highlighted all of these things and have talked about these points and have made it better. What I tried to do basically with my show, with my art, is allow people to realize that identity is not something we should be scared of. Identifying is not something that we should run from. It's something that we should run to. And when somebody does identify however they want, it should be not judged and celebrated, as opposed to something that we find that's something that we're afraid of, I guess. Because yeah. Because if people feel like they can't be themselves, and they feel like they have to continue to conform to fit into society's version of them, I don't think you get true growth. I don't think that you actually I think you get a whole bunch of people who are afraid to be themselves. Right. And that helps nobody. The more that people break out of whatever shell they're in, of whatever identity shell that they're in, the more that people step outside of the world that the way the world sees them, I think that we start to get a whole group of people who blur together and blend together, and we start to become more and more one in that kind of scenario, as opposed to it being like, oh, this is this category of people, this is this category of people, this is this category of people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I think we need to see more, you know, like, just blurs and mixes. Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but, like, there are gay Republicans, right? But, like, in our society, we automatically assume that gay people are all liberal and, like, this. There are, you know what I mean? Like, once we start to see that, like, we all carry different traits in different areas and blah, blah, that's what makes this America so great, is that you can be a gay Republican or a white Muslim if you know what I mean? Like, the minute that we are afraid to still take on different monikers just because it's different than the way that we appear to be, I mean, I think that's when you stagnate growth. So I don't know. I want my show to open people up to the idea that they can be whatever they want to be, and they can identify however they want, and shouldn't feel the fear of stepping out into a new category or a new territory that is foreign to them and maybe foreign to people around them. And also, I hope that it tells people that when somebody does step out into that world, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? Let them be themselves.
They do. They do. Whoever they are, they care, I guess, for some reason. Anyhow, before I forget, because we're almost...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the truth is we're all not one thing. Nobody is one absolute thing. Nobody is one absolute category. And the more people open up and identify with multiple things, the more we all become the same thing, which is a bunch of beautiful different people who love each other for our differences and embrace our similarities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just like to actually remind people before we end the show, because it's already been 40 minutes almost. So
I know.
I want to make sure that it is. It does go fast. And we can only have one show because I'm doing one show at a time. So anyway, your show is going to be playing at Soho Playhouse, which is at 15 Varden Street, New York. And I don't know what part of New York that is. Is that Manhattan or?
Yes. So it is Soho Playhouse, 15 Van Dam Street in Soho, which is South Manhattan.
Okay.
I am there Thursday to Monday. You can get tickets at Soho Playhouse or at BillPosley.com. There's a promo code for a discount. It's Chocolate Thunder, all caps, all one word. Chocolate Thunder. And I'm there until May 6th. So please come out. We've just been extended. We really love your support. Thank you. We love your support. Love to hear, love to see have people come down, and I love hearing people, if people agree with or disagree or whatever. I love talking afterwards and having a debate about it and help open my eyes to things that I don't even see. And
I'm liking the comments from the audience, actually. I'm interested in hearing what they say at the end of the show.
Yeah, I've been trying to ask people if I can talk to them after a show and just see what their thoughts are and see where I can help people.
Yeah.
And, I recently had, and I put it online where, like, there was a black couple who realized that they put people in a box and didn't realize that there was a bias, that there was a biracial experience. I've had biracial couples
Right.
go, oh, I didn't realize that this was something, like, they didn't realize that I had a mom of a biracial son say, I thought I knew, but I didn't know my son's experience at all.
Right.
And so, like, to have that moment,
yeah.
or to have biracial people come up and go, every thought I've ever had, you said. And I didn't even know that I had that. When you said it, I didn't even know that that was something that was going on underneath me.
Oh.
And so, like, there's some really
That's
beautiful, man, there's just been some really beautiful stuff, and I've had some young kids. I mean, there's been some, I talk about this part in the show where the first time I heard the N-word was when we read To Kill a Mockingbird, and what that really meant for me.
Oh, right.
I posted a clip of that part of the show on Instagram as a way to promote. A little girl in 8th grade direct messaged me and said, that just happened to me today. We're reading To Kill a Mockingbird.
What?
She felt the exact same thing I felt. And I'm talking 20 years later. 20 years later. So it was just, it's great. And, like, look, I'm not always right. This is just my experience, but I really, really do love opening the door to this conversation. So thank you for giving me the chance to talk and interview today. It really means
you're welcome. And we're going to actually end with the song you liked from the beginning.